He says he doesn't want me, but his hands never seem to get the message. That's the first thing that goes through my head the moment Lucas Hayes grabs my wrist like it's the only thing keeping him grounded, his fingers tightening just enough to make my pulse stutter, his breath catching for half a second before he schools his expression back into that usual cold, unreadable mask. "Don't get the wrong idea," he says, voice flat, controlled, like he didn't just pull me 2 inches closer without thinking. Right. Of course. Lucas doesn't like me. He's made that painfully clear since day one. With his clipped answers, his constant distance, the way he acts like I'm some minor inconvenience he's forced to tolerate. And yet, there are moments, small ones, barely there, that don't line up. Like the way his gaze lingers when he thinks I'm not looking, or how he always ends up standing just a little too close. Like the space between us is something he keeps forgetting to maintain. I tell myself I'm imagining it, that I'm reading too much into nothing, that maybe I just want it to mean something. But then things like this happen, and suddenly nothing feels a lot more complicated. The apartment is too quiet tonight, the kind of quiet that hums in your ears, thick and heavy, because the power went out an hour ago, and now the only light comes from the street lamps outside, casting everything in this dim, golden haze. We're stuck here together, no distractions, no excuses, just the two of us and the tension that's been building for weeks, maybe longer. I shift slightly, testing the distance, and his grip tightens instinctively, like he doesn't even realize he's doing it. My heart does something stupid, something loud, and I swallow it down. "Lucas," I say, trying to keep my voice steady, because if I let it shake, I'm not sure I'll be able to pretend this is normal anymore. He doesn't answer right away. His jaw tightens, eyes flicking down, too fast to catch, but I feel it, like a spark brushing too close to dry air. Then he exhales slowly, like he's forcing himself to reset. "You should stop overthinking things," he mutters, but his hand doesn't move, doesn't loosen, doesn't let go. I let out a quiet breath, half a laugh, half disbelief, because this is exactly the problem. "Then maybe stop doing things that make me think." I shoot back, softer than I mean to, because suddenly the space between us feels smaller, sharper, charged in a way that makes my skin hyper-aware of every inch of proximity. For a second, neither of us moves, not even an inch. And then, like something in him slips, just for a heartbeat, his other hand lifts, hesitates, and brushes against my side, barely there, like he's testing something he shouldn't want. The contact is light, fleeting, but it hits harder than it should, sending a quiet shock through my system that I can't ignore. His breath changes. I notice that too. Slower, deeper. And when I look up, really look this time, his expression isn't as steady as he wants it to be. There's something else there, something unguarded, something that doesn't match the words he keeps throwing up like a wall between us. "I don't want you," he says again, quieter now, like he's trying to convince himself more than me. But his fingers curl tighter in my sleeve, pulling me just a fraction closer, and the contradiction is so obvious it almost makes me dizzy. I tilt my head, studying him, because if he's going to lie, then I'm done pretending I don't see through it. "Then let go," I whisper. Simple, easy, logical. If he means it, this should be nothing. A second passes, then another. The air stretches, thick and endless, like time itself is holding its breath. And Lucas doesn't move at all. The silence stretches so long it starts to feel unreal, like the whole world narrowed down to the space between his hand on my sleeve and the fact that he is still not letting go. And something in my chest tightens because this is the part where he is supposed to step back, laugh it off, pretend nothing happened. But he does not. He just stands there with his fingers curled into the fabric like he forgot how to release it, like the idea of letting go never even crossed his mind until I said it. Out loud. I swallow slowly, watching him, really watching this time, and I catch it again, that tiny shift in his expression, the one he tries so hard to hide, the flicker of something uncertain, something unsteady, and it does not match the words he keeps using like armor. "Lucas," I say again, softer now, because the air feels thinner somehow, harder to breathe. "You said you do not want me." His jaw tightens at that, a subtle movement, but I see it, I always see it, and his eyes drop for half a second before snapping back to mine like he is forcing himself to stay grounded. "I do not," he replies, but his voice is quieter than before, not as sharp, not as certain, and it sends a strange kind of warmth through me that I should probably ignore but cannot. I shift my weight, just slightly, testing again, and this time I step back a full inch, enough that his hand has to either follow or let go. And for a split second, I think he will finally release me, that this will end the way it is supposed to, clean and simple. But instead his grip tightens, and he pulls me right back into place like it is instinct, like it is automatic, like it is something his body decided before his mind could catch up. My breath catches, and I hate how obvious that feels. Hate how aware I suddenly am of every point of contact, of the warmth of his hand, of the way the distance between us disappears again, so easily, it almost feels natural. Then why do you keep doing that? I ask, the words slipping out before I can stop them, because I am tired of pretending I do not notice, tired of acting like this does not mean anything when it clearly does, even if I do not understand what. He does not answer right away, and that alone says more than anything else, because Lucas always has an answer, always has something sharp and controlled ready to shut things down. But now he just stands there, silent, his eyes fixed on mine like he is trying to figure something out in real time. The streetlight outside flickers, casting shadows across his face, and for a moment he looks different, less composed, less distant, like the version of him he never lets anyone see slipped through the cracks. His other hand lifts again, slower this time, more deliberate, and it hovers near my side like he is debating something with himself, like there is a line he knows he should not cross, but cannot quite step away from either. I feel it before he even touches me, that quiet tension, that pull, and when his fingers finally brush against my side again, it is even lighter than before, almost hesitant, like he is testing whether I will pull away. I do not. I probably should, but I do not. My heart is beating too fast now, loud enough that I am convinced he can hear it, and the worst part is I am not even sure I want him to stop anymore. You are overthinking, he says finally, but the words come out slower, softer, like they have lost their edge, and it sounds less like a dismissal and more like something he is trying to convince himself of. I let out a quiet breath, shaking my head just a little, because this is not overthinking, not when the evidence is right here, not when his actions keep contradicting everything he says. No, I reply, just as quietly. I think you are just not being honest. That lands somewhere. I can see it in the way his expression shifts again, in the way his fingers tense against my sleeve, in the way his breathing changes just slightly, and for a second, something fragile passes between us, something unspoken but impossible to ignore. He looks at me like he wants to say something else, something real, but instead his lips press into a thin line, and he shakes his head once, almost imperceptibly. You are wrong, he says, but this time it does not sound convincing at all, not even to him. And when I take another small step back, just to see what he will do, his hand follows again without hesitation, pulling me right back into that same space, that same impossible distance, and I realize with a quiet, sinking certainty that whatever this is, whatever he is trying to deny, it is not something he can control anymore. Something shifts after that, subtle but undeniable, like the balance between us tilts just enough that pretending becomes harder, and I can feel it in the way Lucas does not step back even when he should, in the way his hand stays where it is like he has accepted the contact without realizing it. And, for the first time, I stop trying to pull away. I let the silence sit there, heavy and full, because I want to see what he does when I am not the one reacting, when I am not the one filling the space with questions or excuses, and it makes him uneasy in a way I have never seen before. His eyes search mine like he is looking for something, like he expects me to break first, but I do not. I just stand there and let him feel it, the weight of everything he keeps denying. You should say something, I murmur after a moment, not because I need him to, but because I want to hear what he chooses now, when there is no easy way out. His grip tightens again, not enough to hurt, just enough to ground himself, and I notice the small detail of how his thumb shifts against my sleeve, pressing lightly, absent-minded, like he is more focused on the feeling than the action itself. There is nothing to say, he replies, but the words come slower, less certain, and I almost smile at that because it is the closest thing to an admission I have gotten all night. I tilt my head slightly, studying him, because this version of Lucas is unfamiliar, softer around the edges, like the sharp lines of his control are starting to blur. Then prove it. I say quietly, the challenge slipping out before I can stop it, and the moment it lands, I see the hesitation flicker across his face. It is quick, almost invisible, but it is there, and it tells me everything I need to know. He exhales slowly, like he is trying to steady himself, and for a second, I think he will finally do it, finally let go and put distance between us, reset everything back to the way it was before tonight. Instead, his other hand moves again, this time more deliberate, more intentional, and it settles at my side with a quiet certainty that makes my breath catch. The contact is still light, still careful, but there is no hesitation in it anymore, no question of whether he should or should not, and that is new, that is different, that is something he cannot take back. My heart pounds harder, louder, and I can feel the shift happening in real time. The moment where this stops being something accidental and starts becoming something chosen. "Lucas," I whisper, not as a warning, not as a protest, but as something softer, something uncertain, because I do not know where this is going anymore, and that realization is both terrifying and impossible to ignore. He does not answer, not with words, but his gaze drops again, slower this time, tracing the space between us like he is mapping it out, like he is trying to understand why it feels so impossible to step away. His breathing changes again, deeper, steadier, and I realize he is not pulling back because he does not want to, not because he cannot, and that difference hits harder than anything else. I shift just slightly, closing the distance by less than an inch, and this time he does not freeze, does not hesitate. He just stays there, letting it happen, letting me come closer without resistance. The world narrows again, the edges fading until all that exists is the quiet space between us, the warmth of his hands, the steady rhythm of his breathing, and the unspoken truth neither of us is saying out loud. "You are still holding on," I point out softly, because it feels important to say it, to make it real, to strip away the last bit of denial he has left. His fingers tighten once more, almost reflexive, and for a second, his eyes close like he is bracing himself against something he cannot quite control. When he opens them again, there is something different there, something heavier, something that lingers in the silence between us. "I know," he admits, barely above a whisper, and that is the first honest thing he has said all night. The words settle between us like something fragile and irreversible, and for a moment I do not breathe because I am not sure what to do with that kind of honesty from him. Not when everything about Lucas has always been controlled, calculated, distant, but now he is standing here admitting something without dressing it up, without hiding behind sharp edges, and it makes my chest tighten in a way I cannot quite explain. "You know," I repeat quietly, because I need to hear it again, need to make sure I did not imagine it, and his fingers flex against my sleeve like the words are still echoing through him too. He nods once, barely noticeable, his gaze dropping again like it is easier to look anywhere but directly at me, and I realize this might be the closest he has ever come to losing control. The thought sends a strange warmth through me, something softer than before, something that makes me want to understand instead of just push back. Then why fight it? I ask, not accusing, not demanding, just asking, because the contradiction between what he says and what he does has been pulling at me all night, and I cannot ignore it anymore. He exhales slowly, the sound quiet but heavy, like it carries more than just breath, and his grip shifts slightly, not loosening, not tightening, just adjusting like he is trying to find something steady in the contact. "Because it is easier," he says after a moment, voice low, almost thoughtful, and that answer surprises me more than anything else tonight. Easier. Not right. Not logical. Just easier. I tilt my head, studying him again, because that feels important, like a crack in something that has always been solid. Easier than what? I press gently, and for a second he does not respond, his jaw tightening again, his shoulders stiffening like he is bracing himself against something internal. The streetlight flickers once more, shadows shifting across his face, and when he finally looks at me, there is something unguarded there, something I have never seen before. "Easier than dealing with this," he admits, and his hand moves again, this time not by accident, not instinctive, but deliberate as his fingers press lightly against my side, grounding himself in the moment he just acknowledged. My breath catches, and I hate how much that simple movement affects me, how aware I become of everything at once, the warmth, the closeness, the quiet intensity of the space between us. This, I echo, softer now, because the word feels heavier than it should, like it carries everything we have not said out loud yet. He nods again, slower this time, and his gaze lingers on mine like he is trying to hold on to something he cannot quite define. The silence returns, but it feels different now, less tense, more fragile, like we are both standing on the edge of something neither of us fully understands. I shift slightly, not pulling away, just enough to test the distance again, and this time his reaction is immediate but controlled, his hand following the movement but not pulling me back, just staying with me, matching the space instead of forcing it closed. It is a small change, but I notice it, and it tells me more than any words could. You are not pushing me away, I point out quietly, and for a second his expression softens, just a fraction, like he is aware of it too. I am not, he agrees, and there is no denial in his voice this time, no attempt to contradict what is happening. I let out a slow breath, something in me settling and unraveling at the same time, because this is new, this version of him that does not immediately retreat, that does not hide behind distance the second things get complicated. Then maybe you should stop pretending you want to, I say, the words coming out softer than I expect, not a challenge this time, not a push, just a quiet suggestion. He does not answer right away, but his fingers tighten slightly, just enough to remind me he is still there, still holding on, still not letting go, and when he finally speaks, his voice is quieter than ever. I do not know how, he admits, and something about that, something honest and uncertain and real, makes my chest ache in a way I cannot ignore. I do not know how. The words echo in my head, softer than everything else he has said tonight, and somehow they hit harder than all the denial that came before, because this is not rejection, not distance, not even resistance. This is uncertainty, raw and unfiltered, and it pulls something in me that I was not prepared to face. I let out a slow breath, my gaze dropping briefly to where his hand still rests against me, steady and warm, like it belongs there even if he does not understand why. You do not have to know, I say quietly, because suddenly it feels less like something that needs to be solved and more like something that needs to be felt, and that thought alone makes my chest tighten. He shifts, slightly at that, not pulling away, not stepping back, just adjusting like he is trying to process the idea without losing his balance. That is not how things work, he replies, but there is no sharpness in it, no edge, just habit, like he is repeating something he has always believed without questioning it until now. I almost smile, not because it is funny, but because it sounds so much like him, controlled, structured, always needing things to make sense before he allows them to exist. Maybe not for you, I murmur, lifting my gaze back to his, holding it this time, not looking away, not giving him an easy escape. But maybe this is not something you can control. The words hang there, quiet but heavy, and I can see the moment they land. The way his expression tightens just slightly, the way his fingers shift again like they are grounding him against something he does not fully understand. For a second, I think he might argue, might push back, might retreat into that familiar distance that has defined every interaction we have ever had, but he does not. He just stands there, looking at me like he is seeing something new, something he has been avoiding until now. The silence stretches again, but it is not uncomfortable, not suffocating like before. It feels open, like something is changing between us in real time. I take a small breath and move, not away this time, but closer, closing the gap just enough that the space between us feels intentional instead of accidental. And this time, he does not hesitate at all. His hand shifts naturally with the movement, settling more securely against my side, like he has stopped questioning whether he should touch me and started accepting that he already is. My heart stumbles at that, just for a second, and I hate how much that simple change affects me, how aware I am of every small detail, the warmth, the pressure, the way his breathing syncs just slightly with mine without either of us trying. See, I say softly, almost like I am pointing out something obvious. You are already not letting go. He exhales, slower this time, and there is something almost resigned in it, like he knows I am right and does not have the energy to argue anymore. I noticed, he admits, and the honesty in that simple sentence makes something shift in my chest again, something deeper this time, something that feels dangerously close to hope. I tilt my head slightly, studying him, because this version of Lucas is still unfamiliar, still unpredictable, and yet it feels more real than anything I have seen before. Then stop pretending it does not mean anything. I say, my voice quieter now, not pushing, not demanding, just asking him to acknowledge what is already happening. His gaze drops again, but not in avoidance this time. More like he is following the line of his own thoughts, tracing them to a place he has been refusing to look at. His fingers tighten once, just once, and then relax, settling into something steadier, something deliberate. It means something, he says finally, the words slow and careful, like he is choosing them one at a time, making sure they are real before he lets them exist. My breath catches at that, and for a moment, everything feels still again, like the world paused just long enough for that truth to settle between us. Then what? I ask, because now that we are here, now that he has taken that step, I need to know where it leads, even if I am not sure I am ready for the answer. He does not respond right away, and I can see the hesitation again, the uncertainty, but this time it is different, not something he is hiding, but something he is facing head on. His hand shifts slightly, not pulling me closer, not letting me go, just holding me there in that same impossible space, and when he finally speaks, his voice is quiet but steady. I do not know what comes next, he admits, and for the first time tonight, that does not sound like avoidance, it sounds like the truth. His answer lingers between us, quiet and unfinished, and for the first time all night, I do not feel the need to fill the silence right away because there is something strangely steady about it now. Something honest in the way he admits he does not know instead of pretending he does, and that alone changes everything. I let out a slow breath, my gaze drifting for a second to the space between us, to the way his hand still rests against me like it belongs there, like it has stopped questioning its place, and when I look back up, he is already watching me, like he is waiting for my reaction even if he does not say it out loud. That is okay, I say finally, softer than I expected, because it feels important to say it, to make sure he understands that not knowing does not mean failing, not this time. His expression shifts slightly at that, something loosening at the edges, like the pressure he has been holding onto all night eases just enough for him to breathe a little easier. It is not ideal, he replies out of habit, but there is no real weight behind it, no conviction, and it almost makes me smile because even now he cannot fully let go of the way he sees the world, structured and certain, everything in its place. Maybe not, I murmur, but it is real. The word hangs there, simple but undeniable, and I can see the moment it settles into him. The way his gaze softens just a fraction, the way his fingers shift again, not gripping this time, just staying, present, aware. For a second, neither of us moves, and the stillness feels different now, less like tension and more like something building, something quiet and fragile that neither of us wants to disrupt too quickly. I take a small step, not away, not forward, just enough to test the space again. And this time he does not follow immediately, does not pull me back or close the gap. He just lets the distance change, lets it exist, and the difference is subtle but meaningful, like he is choosing not to control it anymore. My heart stutters at that realization, because this is new, this version of him that does not react on instinct alone, that actually pauses, considers, lets things unfold instead of forcing them into something he understands. You are thinking again, I point out gently, because I can see it in the way his gaze shifts, the way his shoulders tighten just slightly like he is trying to process everything at once. He exhales, a quiet sound that carries more weight than it should, and nods once. I am trying to understand why this feels. He trails off, like he cannot quite find the word, and for a moment, I wonder if he ever has. I tilt my head, waiting, because I want to hear it, whatever he decides to say next, even if it is incomplete. His eyes flicker back to mine, and there is something uncertain there again, but it is not hidden this time, not buried under layers of control. Different, he finishes finally, and the word lands softly, but it feels important, like a piece of something larger he is starting to see. I let out a quiet breath, something in my chest easing at the honesty of it, because that is exactly what this is, not simple, not easy, just different in a way neither of us expected. It is, I agree, my voice low, steady, because I do not want to rush this, do not want to push him into something he is not ready to face all at once. The silence returns again, but now it feels almost comfortable, like we are standing in it together instead of against each other. I shift slightly, just enough that our arms brush again, light and unintentional, and this time he does not react with tension or hesitation. He just lets it happen, like it is natural, like it has always been this way. My heart does that stupid thing again, picking up speed for no good reason, and I look away for a second just to steady myself, because this is starting to feel like something real, something that might not disappear the moment we step back into the world outside this room. Lucas, I say quietly, and when I look back at him, he is already focused on me, fully present in a way he has not been before, like he is not holding anything back now, not even from himself. We do not have to figure everything out tonight. The words feel right the moment I say them, like they take some of the weight off both of us, like they give this moment space to exist without forcing it into something it is not ready to be. He studies me for a second, searching my face like he is trying to decide whether to trust that, whether to let things stay uncertain without pulling away, and then, slowly, he nods. No, he agrees, his voice quiet but steady. We do not. And somehow, that feels like the biggest step he has taken yet. The quiet agreement settles between us like something steady, something that does not need to be rushed or forced into shape. And for the first time tonight, I feel the tension in my shoulders ease just a little, like I have been bracing for something that never quite came. Lucas does not move away, but he does not pull me closer either, and that balance, that choice to simply stay where we are, feels more intentional than anything that happened before. I shift my weight slightly, the floor creaking softly beneath us, and his gaze flickers down for a second before returning to mine, like he notices every small movement even when he pretends he does not. It makes something warm settle low in my chest, something quiet but persistent, and I am not sure what to do with it yet. So what happens now? I ask, not because I expect a clear answer, but because I want to hear how he thinks about it, now that he is no longer pretending this is nothing. His expression tightens just a fraction, not in resistance, but in thought, like he is turning the question over carefully instead of dismissing it outright. His hand shifts again, not leaving my side, just adjusting, grounding, and I realize he has not let go once since this started. Not once. We do not force it into something it is not, he says slowly, like he is building the answer as he speaks, and there is something about that, something careful and deliberate, that makes me pay closer attention. I nod slightly, because that makes sense, or at least it feels like it does in this moment where everything is uncertain, but somehow clearer than before. And what is it? I press gently, because if we are not forcing it, then we have to at least acknowledge what we are standing in the middle of. He exhales again, quieter this time, and his gaze drifts just slightly, not away from me, but inward, like he is trying to put something into words that he has never had to say before. It is, he pauses, jaw tightening briefly before relaxing again, and I can see the effort it takes for him not to retreat, not to shut this down like he always would have before. It is something I cannot ignore anymore, he finishes, and the honesty in that sentence lands deeper than I expect. I let that sit for a moment, letting it settle into me, because this is not the same as before, not denial, not avoidance, just a quiet acceptance that something has shifted. I glance down again, just for a second, at the space between us, at the way his hand rests against me without hesitation now, and I wonder when that changed, when it stopped being accidental and started becoming something he chose to maintain. You are still doing it, I point out softly, and this time there is no disbelief in my voice, just observation. He follows my gaze briefly, looking at his own hand like he is seeing it clearly for the first time, and instead of pulling away, instead of correcting it, he just lets it stay. I know, he says again, quieter now, but there is something steadier in it, something more certain than before. I feel my heartbeat pick up slightly at that, not from nerves this time, but from something else, something that feels dangerously close to relief. I shift just a little closer again, not enough to make it obvious, just enough to close the space between us by an inch, and this time, instead of reacting immediately, he simply adjusts with me, his hand moving naturally with the shift, maintaining that same contact like it is the most normal thing in the world. The simplicity of it makes my breath catch for a second, because this is what it looks like when he is not fighting himself, when he is not trying to deny what is happening. You are not stopping me either, he says after a moment. And there is a quiet curiosity in his voice, like he is noticing it at the same time I am. I let out a small breath, something almost like a laugh, but softer, because he is right. I am not pulling away, not setting boundaries the way I probably should, not trying to break whatever this is before it goes too far. No, I admit, meeting his gaze again, holding it steady this time, I am not. The words feel heavier than they should, like they carry more meaning than just the surface, and I can see the moment he understands that, the way his expression shifts, the way something deeper flickers. Behind his eyes, for a second, everything feels still again, like we are both standing at the edge of something neither of us has fully stepped into yet. Then maybe, he starts, his voice lower now, more uncertain than it has been all night. And for once, Lucas does not finish his sentence right away. He just stands there, looking at me like he is waiting for something, like he is giving me the space to decide what happens next, and that realization alone changes everything. Then maybe, he leaves it there, unfinished, like the rest of the sentence is something he is not ready to own yet. And for a second I just watch him, waiting to see if he will pull back, if he will close himself off again now that the moment has gotten too real, but he does not. He stays exactly where he is, hands still resting against me, gaze steady in a way that feels unfamiliar and steady at the same time, like he has made a quiet decision not to retreat. My heart picks up again, not sharp or panicked, just a steady, insistent rhythm that I cannot ignore anymore. And I realize he is right. This is not just about him choosing not to let go. It is about me choosing not to step away either. I take a slow breath, grounding myself in the moment, in the warmth of his hand, in the quiet space that feels smaller with every second we stay like this. Then maybe what? I ask softly, because if he is going to leave it unfinished, I am not sure I can let it stay that way. His eyes flicker slightly, like he is considering whether to answer or let it fade, but something in my tone must shift, something that makes it clear I am not looking for an escape this time, because he exhales and finally meets my gaze fully. Maybe we stop pretending this is nothing, he says, and the words land heavier than anything else tonight, not because they are loud or dramatic, but because they are simple and real and impossible to take back. I feel it in my chest, that quiet impact, that shift from uncertainty into something clearer, something that demands to be acknowledged instead of ignored. For a second, I do not say anything, because I am not sure. I trust my voice not to give away more than I am ready to admit, but I do not look away either. I hold his gaze, steady, letting the moment stretch just long enough to feel it fully, to understand what he is offering, even if he does not know where it leads. We already stopped. I point out quietly, because the truth is we crossed that line a while ago, somewhere between the first time he did not pull away and now. His expression shifts at that, something softer, almost thoughtful, and his fingers tighten just slightly, not enough to pull me closer, just enough to remind me he is still there, still holding on. Then maybe we stop acting like we need to undo it, he says, and there is something different in his voice now, something steadier, like he is finding his footing in a place he never expected to stand. My breath catches at that, just for a second, because that is new, that willingness to move forward instead of stepping back, to let something exist without trying to erase it. I shift again, closing the distance by another inch, not rushing, not forcing, just allowing it. And this time he does not hesitate at all. His hand adjusts naturally with the movement, settling more firmly, more intentionally, and the ease of it makes something warm bloom in my chest before I can stop it. You are not even trying to deny it anymore. I say, softer now, not teasing, not challenging, just noticing the change out loud. He lets out a quiet breath, something almost like a quiet laugh, but without the sound, and shakes his head slightly. I do not think I can, he admits, and there is no frustration in it, no resistance, just acceptance, simple and unguarded. I watch him for a moment, really watch him, taking in the way he looks now compared to how he did earlier, the tension that has eased, the control that has softened just enough to let something real come through. It feels like watching a door open slowly, not forced, not broken, just unlocked. Good. I murmur, before I can overthink it, because I mean it, because I am tired of pretending to. The word hangs there between us, small but certain, and for a second, neither of us moves, like we are both waiting to see what comes next. The silence returns again, but it is different now, less uncertain, more expectant, like it is holding space for something instead of hiding it. I can feel his attention on me, steady and focused, and when I finally look back at him, there is no distance left in his gaze, no hesitation, just that same quiet intensity that has been building all night. So we just stay here? I ask, and it sounds simple, but it does not feel simple at all, not with everything that has shifted between us. He considers that for a second, his grip adjusting slightly, grounding, present, and then he nods, slow and certain. For now, he says, and something about the way he says it, the quiet confidence, the lack of fear, makes my chest tighten in a way I cannot quite explain. For now, not forever, not defined, just real, just here, just this moment that neither of us is trying to escape anymore. And somehow, that feels like enough. For now, the words linger in the air between us, simple but heavy, and I realize I am holding onto them the same way he is holding on to me, like neither of us wants to rush past this moment just to make it easier to understand. I nod slowly, not because I have a better answer, but because it feels right, because for once I am not trying to plan 3 steps ahead or protect myself from something that might not even happen. For now is enough. The silence settles again, softer this time, almost steady, and I become aware of the small details I had been ignoring before, the quiet hum of the city outside, the faint glow of the streetlight casting uneven shadows across the room, the subtle shift of his breathing as it matches mine without either of us trying. It is strange how something so uncertain can feel this grounded. I shift slightly, not to move away, just to adjust, and his hand moves with me again, natural and unforced, like it belongs there now, like he has stopped questioning it completely. My chest tightens at that realization, not uncomfortable, just full, like something is settling into place that I did not expect. You are getting used to this, I say quietly, more to myself than to him, but he hears it anyway. His gaze flickers, thoughtful, and for a second I think he might deny it out of habit, but he does not. I am, he admits, and there is something almost surprising in the way he says it, like he did not expect it either. I let out a small breath, something close to a laugh, but softer, because that feels like progress, even if neither of us is calling it that. That is new, I murmur, and he nods once, like he agrees, like he recognizes the shift just as clearly as I do. For a moment, we just stand there, letting that settle, letting the simplicity of it exist without overanalyzing it, and it feels easier than I expected, easier than all the tension and denial that came before. But then something changes, subtle at first, just a flicker in his expression, a slight tightening of his jaw, and I notice it immediately because I have been paying attention all night. What is it? I ask, my voice quiet but steady, because I do not want him to retreat now, not after everything we just worked through. He hesitates, and that alone tells me this matters, because Lucas does not hesitate unless something is actually getting to him. His hand shifts slightly against my side, not pulling away, just grounding himself again, and I can see the conflict in his eyes, the way he is weighing whether to say something or let it pass. This changes things, he says finally, and the words are careful, measured, like he is testing them before letting them settle. I feel a small knot form in my chest at that, not fear exactly, but awareness, because he is right. It does change things, even if we have not defined what those changes are yet. Yeah, I reply softly, because there is no point pretending otherwise, not anymore. The honesty between us feels too important to break now. He exhales slowly, his gaze dropping for a second before returning to mine, and there is something more serious there now, something deeper than before. I do not know how to go back to how it was, he admits, and that lands differently than anything else he has said tonight, because it is not just about this moment, it is about everything after it. I swallow, the weight of that realization settling in, because I had not fully let myself think that far ahead yet, had not considered what this would mean once we step outside this room, back into the version of our lives where everything was simple and distant and safe. Maybe we are not supposed to, I say after a moment, the words coming out slower, more careful, because they feel bigger than I expected. His expression shifts at that, something unreadable passing through his eyes, and for a second I wonder if I push too far, if I said something that will make him pull away again. But he does not. He just looks at me, really looks at me, like he is considering the possibility instead of rejecting it outright. The silence stretches again, but this time it feels different, heavier, like we are both standing at the edge of something that goes beyond just this moment. His fingers tighten slightly against my sleeve, just enough to remind me he is still here, still present, still not letting go, and I realize that might be the only answer we have right now. He does not know what comes next, neither do I, but he is not stepping away from it either. And somehow, that matters more than anything else. Maybe we are not supposed to. The thought lingers heavier than I expect, settling somewhere deep where it is harder to ignore, and I can see it land in him too. The way his expression stills for just a second longer than before, like he is not brushing it off, not dismissing it the way he would have earlier. He does not argue. He does not retreat. He just considers it, and somehow that feels like a bigger step than anything else tonight. The quiet stretches between us again, but it is not empty. It is full of something unspoken, something shifting slowly into place, and I realize neither of us is trying to escape it anymore. His hand remains where it is, steady against my side, grounding, present, like it has become the one constant in a moment that keeps evolving around us. I become aware of it again, the warmth, the pressure, the simple fact that he is still choosing not to let go, and this time, instead of questioning it, I let myself lean into it just slightly, enough to feel the contact more clearly, enough to acknowledge it. Without saying a word, his breath changes almost immediately, subtle but unmistakable, and I catch it because I have learned to notice these small shifts with him, the things he does not say out loud, but cannot fully hide either. You felt that? I say quietly, not as a question, just an observation, because I know I am right. His jaw tightens for a brief second, but there is no denial that follows, no automatic pushback. Yes, he admits, and the simplicity of it sends a small, unexpected warmth through me, because this is not the same Lucas who would have shut this down before it even started. This is someone who is letting himself experience it, even if he does not understand it yet. I let out a slow breath, steadying myself, because the space between us feels even smaller now, more intentional, like every movement carries weight. So what are you going to do about it? I ask, my voice softer now, not challenging, not pushing, just asking him to face it instead of stepping around it. He does not answer right away, and I can see the hesitation again, but it is different now, not avoidance, just uncertainty, like he is choosing his next step instead of reacting on instinct. His fingers shift slightly against my sleeve, not pulling me closer, not letting me go, just maintaining that same impossible balance we have been standing in all night. I do not think I can pretend it did not happen, he says finally, and the words are quiet but certain, like he has already accepted that part. My chest tightens at that, not from fear, but from the weight of what it means, because if he is not pretending anymore, then this becomes something real, something that cannot be undone by simply stepping away. I nod slowly, because that feels like the truth, even if we have not fully defined it yet. Good. I murmur again, softer this time, because I mean it, because I am tired of pretending too. The silence that follows is not uncomfortable, not tense, just steady, like we are both adjusting to a new version of something we have not named yet. I shift again, just slightly, and this time the movement is not about testing him. It is about closing the distance just enough to feel the change, to see if he will still stay. He does, without hesitation. His hand adjusts naturally, maintaining contact, grounding, present, and something in my chest settles at that, something that feels dangerously close to certainty. You are not pulling away, I say quietly, and this time it is not surprise, just acknowledgement. He looks at me, really looks at me, and there is something different in his gaze now, something steadier, more resolved than before. Neither are you, he replies, and the words land softly but firmly, like a mirror held up between us. I let out a small breath, because he is right, because at some point tonight, I stopped trying to protect myself from this and started letting it happen instead. The realization is both unsettling and grounding at the same time. No, I admit, meeting his gaze, not looking away this time, not giving myself an easy out. The space between us feels charged again, but not in the same uncertain way as before. It feels deliberate, like we are both aware of it now, both choosing to stay inside it instead of stepping back. His fingers tighten slightly, just enough to draw my attention back to the contact. And for a second, neither of us moves, like we are both waiting for the other to decide what comes next. The moment stretches, quiet and full, and I realize this is it. This is the point where something shifts again, where staying still is no longer enough. He inhales slowly, like he is bracing himself, and then, just slightly, he steps closer, closing the last inch of space between us, not pulling me, not forcing it, just choosing it. And that, more than anything else, changes everything. The last inch disappears so quietly it almost feels like it was never there to begin with. And for a second I forget how to breathe, because this is different from everything before, not accidental, not instinct, but a choice he made fully aware of what it means. Lucas does not pull me in, does not force the moment into something overwhelming. He just stands closer now, close enough that I can feel the warmth of him without trying, close enough that the space between us is no longer something we are navigating but something we have already crossed. My pulse stumbles, then picks up again, louder this time, and I hate how obvious it feels, how aware I suddenly am of every small detail. The way his hand remains steady against my side, the way his breathing shifts just slightly like he is adjusting to this new distance the same way I am. You did that on purpose, I say quietly, because it matters, because I need him to hear it out loud, to acknowledge that this is not something that just happened to him. His jaw tightens for a fraction of a second, but he does not deny it, does not step back or pretend it was unintentional. Yes, he answers, and there is something firm in it, something that was not there before, something that feels like a decision instead of a reaction. The honesty hits differently now, heavier, more grounding, and I realize this is the moment everything shifts from uncertain to undeniable. I let out a slow breath, steadying myself, because I am standing in something real now, something that cannot be dismissed with a few words or avoided with distance. Why? I ask, softer this time, not challenging, not accusing, just wanting to understand what changed, what made him stop holding himself back. He hesitates again, but it is not the same hesitation as before, not fear, not resistance, just careful thought, like he is choosing to answer truthfully instead of safely. His fingers shift slightly against my sleeve, grounding, present, and for a second his gaze drops, following the movement like he is seeing it from the outside. Because stepping back felt wrong, he says finally, and the simplicity of it catches me off guard, because it is not complicated, not layered with logic or justification, just a quiet truth he cannot ignore. Something in my chest tightens at that, something warm and unsteady, because I understand that feeling more than I want to admit. I nod slowly, not because I have a better answer, but because it makes sense in a way that words usually do not. The silence that follows is not empty, not uncertain. It is full of something new, something that feels like it is settling into place between us without needing to be defined yet. I shift slightly, just enough to test the distance again, but there is no distance left to test, not really, not anymore. And this time when I move, his hand adjusts without hesitation, maintaining that same contact like it is second nature now. My breath catches at that, just for a second, because this is not the same careful balance as before. This is something steadier, something chosen. You are not holding back anymore, I say quietly, and it is not a question, just an observation, because the difference is too clear to ignore. He meets my gaze, steady and unguarded in a way I have never seen before, and for a moment I see it. The shift, the way he is no longer trying to control every part of this, no longer trying to force it into something safe and distant. No, he admits, and there is no hesitation in it this time, no second guessing, just truth. The word settles between us, heavier than anything else he has said tonight, because it carries everything that comes with it. The change, the uncertainty, the possibility of something neither of us fully understands yet. I swallow, my chest tightening again, not from fear, but from the weight of what this could become, because this is no longer something we can pretend is temporary or accidental. This is real. The air feels different now, thicker, more intentional, and I realize we are both aware of it, both standing in the same moment without trying to escape it. His fingers tighten slightly, just enough to remind me he is still there, still choosing this, and for a second, neither of us moves, like we are both waiting for the other to decide what happens next. My gaze drops briefly, not to avoid him, but to steady myself, to ground the way my thoughts are starting to spin. And when I look back up, he is still watching me, still present, still not pulling away. Lucas, I say quietly, his name feeling different now, heavier, more personal, and I can see the way it lands in him, the way his expression shifts just slightly at the sound of it. He does not answer right away, but he does not look away either, and for the first time, it feels like he is not waiting for me to step back, not expecting me to break the moment. He is just here, with me in it, and that changes everything. The way he says my name lingers in the space between us, quiet but heavier than anything else, and I feel it settle somewhere deeper than it should, like it carries more meaning now than just a word. Lucas does not look away after that, does not retreat into that familiar distance I have come to expect from him. He just stays right where he is, close enough that I can feel the warmth of him without trying, close enough that every small shift feels amplified. My heartbeat is loud again, steady but impossible to ignore, and I wonder if he can feel it too. If he notices the way everything about this moment feels sharper, more defined, like there is no going back to what it was before. Say it again. I murmur without thinking, the words slipping out softer than I expect, but once they are there, I cannot take them back. His expression shifts slightly, just a flicker, like he did not expect that, like he is not sure what I am asking for at first, but then something in his gaze settles, something more certain than before. Ethan, he repeats, slower this time, more deliberate, and I feel it again, that same quiet impact, like hearing it now means something different than it did before tonight. I swallow, my chest tightening just slightly, because this is not just a name anymore. It feels like acknowledgement, like he is choosing to see me instead of keeping me at a distance. The silence that follows is not empty. It is full, steady, and I realize we are both standing in it without trying to escape, without trying to fill it with something easier. I shift just slightly, not away, not forward, just enough to adjust my balance, and his hand moves with me again, natural and unforced, like it has already learned the rhythm of this without needing to think about it. That realization hits harder than I expect, because it means this is not temporary, not something that will disappear the second we step back. You are still holding on, I say quietly, even though we both already know it, even though it has been obvious for a while now. His fingers tighten just slightly at the words, not defensive, not hesitant, just confirming it, and he does not deny it this time. I am, he says, and there is something steady in it now, something grounded that was not there before. I let out a slow breath, because this feels like a turning point, like we have crossed something that cannot be undone by pretending it did not happen. Then do not stop, I say before I can overthink it, my voice softer than I intend but firm enough that it carries, and for a second I wonder if I push too far, if I asked for something he is not ready to give. But he does not pull away. He does not step back. Instead, his gaze sharpens slightly, not in resistance, but in focus, like he is considering it, like he is weighing the choice instead of rejecting it outright. His hand shifts again, not pulling me closer, but settling more securely, more intentionally, like he is answering without needing to say it out loud. My breath catches at that, just for a second, because this is different. This is him choosing to stay, not just reacting, not just caught in the moment, but actively deciding not to let go. You are asking me to keep going, he says quietly, and there is something in his voice I have not heard before, something careful but not hesitant, like he understands exactly what I mean even if neither of us has said it clearly. I meet his gaze, steady, because there is no point pretending otherwise now, not after everything we have already crossed. I am asking you not to run, I correct gently, because that is what this has always been about, not the moment itself, but what he does when it becomes real. The words hang between us, heavier than before, and I can see the way they land, the way his expression shifts just slightly as he processes them. For a second, I think he might step back, might retreat into something safer, something easier to control, but he does not. He just stands there, looking at me like he is finally understanding something he has been avoiding all night. His fingers tighten once more, grounding, present, and when he speaks again, his voice is quieter but more certain than it has ever been. I am not running, he says, and the weight of that settles into me. Deeper than anything else he has said so far, because it is not just about this moment, It is about what comes after it. And for the first time, I believe him. The words settle into me slowly, not loud, not dramatic, just steady and real in a way that makes it impossible to ignore. And for a moment, I just look at him, really look at him, because this is not the same person who stood in front of me earlier denying everything with sharp edges and distance. This is someone who stayed, who chose to stay, even when it would have been easier to step back, to pretend none of this ever happened. My chest tightens, not from fear, not from uncertainty, but from the weight of that choice, because it changes everything without needing to say anything more. The silence between us is different now, not fragile, not uncertain, just quiet in a way that feels full instead of empty, like it is holding something instead of hiding it. His hand is still there, steady against my side, grounding, present, and I realize I am not thinking about it anymore, not questioning it, not analyzing it, just accepting it as something that belongs in this moment. That realization settles into me deeper than I expect, because it means I have crossed something too, something just as real as whatever shifted in him. I take a slow breath, letting it out carefully, and I shift just slightly closer, not testing, not hesitating, just moving the way it feels natural now. And he does not react with tension or surprise. He just adjusts with me, his hand moving with that same quiet certainty, like this is no longer something he has to think about. My heartbeat steadies at that, not slowing, just settling into something more even, something less chaotic than before, and I realize this is what it feels like when neither of us is fighting it anymore. Okay, I say softly, the word simple but carrying more than it should, because it is not just agreement, it is acceptance of him, of this, of whatever comes next, even if we do not know what that is yet. His gaze holds mine, steady and unguarded, and for a second I see it, that same shift reflected back at me, that same understanding that we are both standing in. Something new now. He nods once, slow and certain, like he understands exactly what I mean without needing me to explain it. Okay, he repeats, and the way he says it, quieter but just as steady, makes something in my chest loosen in a way I did not realize was tight before. We stay like that for a moment, just breathing, just existing in the same space without trying to define it, and it feels, right in a way that is hard to explain, like this is exactly where we are supposed to be even if we did not plan it, even if we do not know where it leads. The city outside hums quietly, the streetlight flickers once more, and the world feels distant compared to the stillness between us. I become aware of it again, the warmth of him, the closeness, the quiet rhythm of his breathing, and I realize none of it feels overwhelming anymore. None of it feels like something I need to escape. It just feels real. His fingers shift slightly, not pulling away, not tightening, just adjusting, like he is making sure he is still there, still connected, and for the first time, I do not question it. I do not wonder what it means or where it is going. I just let it be. We will figure it out, I say quietly, not because I have an answer, but because I believe it, because whatever this is, it does not feel like something that will disappear the second we stop paying attention to it. He exhales slowly, the sound soft but steady, and I can see the way the words settle into him, the way he does not resist them, does not push back against the uncertainty the way he used to. We will, he agrees, and there is something certain in it, something grounded, like he is not afraid of that unknown anymore. The moment stretches, calm and unhurried, and I realize neither of us is rushing to move, to break the space between us, to turn this into something else before we are ready. We are just here, standing in the aftermath of everything that shifted tonight, letting it settle into something real. And for once, that feels like enough.